which is why we're slightly surprised that Land Rover has finally gone ahead with its long-promised plan to introduce diesel-powered versions of the standard wheelbase Range Rover and the Range Rover Sport to the US, a mere 30 years after diesel Range Rovers were first offered in other markets. The engine in question is JLR's long-serving 3.0-liter V6 turbo diesel, a power plant that can trace its origins to a long-forgotten joint venture between Ford and Peugeot Citroën, giving a pleasing, if tangential, French connection. The engine has been cleaned up to meet US emission standards through a urea-based exhaust after treatment that includes an onboard tank of DEF diesel exhaust fluid that's claimed to be good for 10,000 miles between refills. This federalized version produces 254 horsepower and 440 lb-ft of torque, the latter available from just 1,750 revolutions per minute. Unfortunately, we're not going to get the 339 HP diesel V8 that's sold in Europe. EPA city highway fuel economy is 22/28 mpg. A 5 mpg improvement over the supercharged V6 both in the city and on the highway. You won't buy a Td6 to make a statement. The presence of the diesel engine is marked by nothing more than a tiny badge, and even if you stand next to the tailpipe with the engine idling, you'll hear only the sort of subdued noise you'd expect from a direct-injected gasoline engine. Inside the cabin it's the same story. However hard you try, you'll never hear any of the tinkling harmonics often associated with compression ignition. Under wider throttle openings there's the sort of distant mechanical thrum that you might hear from the stateroom of a luxury yacht if the captain had just ordered full steam ahead, but overall the Td6 is practically as hushed as its gasoline siblings. Performance is similarly unobtrusive, sufficient at all times but not enough to deliver much in the way of excitement. It's best to drive on the torque mammy and let the 8-speed auto box do its own thing. Request sudden acceleration and there's a noticeable pause as the turbo spools up and the transmission works out which gear to select. The powertrain pulls strongly enough for most, with the official 7.4 seconds 0 to 60 mph time putting it in close proximity to the gasoline V6. The natural cruising speed is impressively high, though, especially for something with the aerodynamic profile of a sizable outhouse. This is one of those cars that makes 100 miles per hour feel like 65, honestly, officer. It's definitely not a rever, though. Despite a marked 4,800 RPM redline, the Td6 won't go above 4,000 revolutions per minute unless you take control of its transmission through the command-shift mode, and there's absolutely no point in doing so. The rest of the driving experience is effectively identical to that of the existing Range Rover, with a supremely compliant ride and a driving position that feels commanding enough to let you issue orders to a Mongolohard. Behind overly light power steering, the chassis delivers impressive accuracy when called upon to do so, and you can hustle the Td6 along at a decent pace, although at the cost of some impressively acute lean angles. But both it, and any passengers you happen to be carrying, are happiest when traveling at a more regal pace. Leave all that nouveau dynamism to the Range Rover Sport. The cabin remains a very special place to spend the sort of journeys encouraged by the 650-mile range, supremely comfortable over longer stints and with generous standard gadgetry to play with. And like every Range Rover, even the Hot Rod Sport SVR, it's willing and able at best to head off-road, albeit at the risk of scuffing those huge aluminum wheels. The standard air suspension allows the ride height to be increased, and the low-down torque of the Td6 is particularly well suited to mud plugging, especially using the low-speed cruise control system. For a $1,500 premium over the gasoline 6, it's not hard to see the Td6's appeal, as it doesn't require buyers to make any significant sacrifice in exchange for the extra economy. This is one diesel you can buy with your heart as well as your head.